Toastmaster? Oh boy. Every guy that I've known back in college, when I was in my early 20s, think that the bench press was the ultimate exercise to gain full body strength. It would give them Herculean powers to lift people over their heads or to move cars that are stuck in the mud. I remember my first bench press contest back in 2000, December 2000 to be exact. And also my first moment of humiliation, self-humiliation. Back in San Diego State, they had a bench press contest, and I entered it. I had about 4 years of weightlifting experience at the time, and I think I know what to do. Had about 6% body fat back then. And I figured, hey, why not? I can do it. I can lift that. But you know what, though? Most of my workouts were based on machines or isolations, where you work only one body part at a time. So I was able to crank out about 250 pounds on the chest press machine for a week before the bench press contest. So, on the day of the contest, there were about 15 guys who entered in the weight room, and up to that day, I have not even do a single bench press with a barbell. So I'm thinking, hey, if I get 250 pounds on the machine, I can probably do at least half on the barbell. So I said, I'll go first. Okay, and I'll get there and get there and sat on the bench. All right, we're going to start about 140, okay? All right. First thing I noticed, when I first hauled onto the barbell while laying on the bench, was a lot of shaking. Like I have epilepsy or something. And I couldn't even, once I get the bar down to my chest, I have a very hard time getting back up without arching my back. And you get disqualified if you arch your back or use your legs in any way. I swear, I almost kicked the guy who was standing too close to me just because of that. So they gave me 3 tries before I failed. I couldn't even do one at the lowest first rate. I still remember today, there were like 20 to 25 people watching. That was pathetic, I told myself. I stood up, I was all right. I paid my $10, so what? But I didn't leave the weight room or hide in the bathroom. Instead, I just stood there and watched the rest of the competitors. One competitor stood out from the rest, and he was this tall Filipino guy, about Jejong's height, had a very skinny but lean body. He also had only one hand. His right hand was in the right of the wrist and has 2 little finger-like projections that kind of acts like crab claws that helps him hold things. So he got there, and he could bench, boom, 1 rep at 180 pounds. No problem. And at the end, the Filipino guy got 3rd place. He could crank out almost 50% more weight than I could. And he is probably 50 pounds less than I weigh. It didn't make sense to me. Why? At that same year, I was also learning how to hip-hop dance, and I watched some break dancers. These guys are, most of these guys are skinny, but they have amazing power to lift the body up in the air, do single head spins and handstands that I couldn't even do a single one myself, despite all the bulk that I have in my body 13 years ago. Fellow Toastmasters, this is where exercise science comes to explain why I lost in the bench press contest. The principle that we use is called the SAID principle, or movement specificity. SAID, S-A-I-D, stands for specific adaptations to impose demands. And what it means simply is that your body can only get better and adapt to specifically what you train it to do. Just because you could do a 300-pound bench press doesn't mean that you are good at pushing the other guy away in football. And just because you could crank out 500 pounds on the leg press machine, it doesn't mean that you will be a world-class sprinter or be able to do the Olympic squat. So what does that mean about your exercise program when you train yourself for your favorite sport, like Jejong's volleyball or Mars' martial arts programs. Here's one thing I do teach is that you have to train in a position that is closely mimic your actual sports skill. The closer you move and position your body in a way that is alike to the actual sports skill, the better you're going to be at. They had a study that, forgot which it came from, is that they had a study where they had 5 exercises being tested for core strength, to which exercise can actually predict the strength and strength of how fast you can, how powerful you can throw a medicine ball in different directions. They had a squat, 40-yard dash, bench press, vertical jump, and some kind of agility drill they used. They didn't explain what it was. But among all 5 exercises, the exercise that had the most, that benefited the most throwing power was actually the squat. It appears that, so the theory was that the stronger your lower body is, the more powerful your upper body becomes without even training your upper body. That was a surprise for most of the scientists who did that. So next time you go to a gym or a boot camp and you want to become a better athlete, train the way you move. Not so much about muscles. Mr. Toastmaster.